Ya chicos, gramática 12.2, the subjunctive in time classes. Here, some adverbials, we're going to skip describing these two pictures because I noticed that it will save us some time. Some adverbial conjunctions introduce clauses that express when something happens or may happen in the future. These include phrases such as cuando, en cuanto, which means as soon as, hasta que, until, después de que, and antes de que. These conjunctions are sometimes followed by the present indicative and sometimes by the present subjunctive. Let's see. Letter A. When the action or state described in the clause that begins with cuando, en cuanto, and después de que refers to a habit or habitual action, the present indicative is used. This is why here in the first picture, we're using the indicative, present indicative. Cuando vamos al consultorio del doctor González, mi hijo siempre le pide un caramelo. Every time that we go to Dr. González's office, my son always asks him for a red candy. Let's go to letter. Let's read an example here. Cada noche cenamos todos juntos en cuanto papá llega a casa. En cuanto papá llega a casa. Cada noche, every night when we eat dinner together, as soon as dad gets home. Yeah, every time. A habit, we use the present indicative, not subjunctive. Another example. Mis primos siempre consultan con el doctor Obando cuando están enfermos. My cousins always go to Dr. Obando when they are sick. Every time that they are sick, they do this. That's why we're using the present indicative. Letter B. When the action or state described in the clause that begins with cuando, en cuanto, hasta que, tan pronto como, and después de que refers to a future event, the subjunctive form is used. Let's take a look. Vamos a comprar la medicina en cuanto los médicos en cuanto el médico nos dé una receta. We are going to get the medication as soon as the doctor gives us the prescription. The action hasn't happened yet in the second clause. En cuanto is used here, but also is used in letter A, en cuanto. The difference is that the first example in letter A is talking about a habit, something that happens as a repeated action. Letter B is talking about using still en cuanto, but the second clause is talking about something that hasn't happened yet. That's why we're using that subjunctive. Another example. ¿Cuándo vamos a ver a mamá en el hospital? When are we going to see mom at the hospital? No la vamos a ver hasta que esté mejor. We are not going to see her until she gets better. So she hasn't gotten better yet. It will happen in the future. It might happen or not. That's why we're using that subjunctive. Hasta que esté mejor. Bien, hasta que esté mejor. Letter C. Clauses beginning with antes de que always require the present subjunctive, even when they refer to habits or habitual actions. Siempre preparo la cena antes de que llegue mi esposo. Even though, okay, let's translate. I always prepare dinner before my husband gets home. Mañana voy a preparar la cena antes de que llegue mi esposo. Tomorrow I'm going to prepare dinner before my husband gets home. Let's take a look at the first one. Siempre, even though I'm talking about a habit, it always happens. Siempre preparo la cena antes de que llegue mi esposo. Why? Because antes de que refers before something happens. Even though I do this always, the entire action, I do it always, it refers to antes de que, before my husband gets home. That's why we're using the subjunctive here, and that's the rule letter C. Bien, chicos, okay, I will see you guys in the next video. Gracias. Chao.